Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Taproom Success. I'm Kerry Shumway, joined as always by my good buddy Andrew Copeland. Andrew,
Good
what is
morning, Carrie. It
yeah,
is morning now. I don't know when everybody's listening, but it's a good morning here. Hope you're having a great one as well.
we are here in the dog days of August. It's hot and sticky and great beer drinking weather. So hopefully, wishing all of you continued success and a great August and a great rest of your summer. But what does happen is there are slow times in your tap room, whether that's certain days or times of the day. And the topic that we're going to talk about today is whether your tap room has a vibe, whether your empty
Well,
tap room.
not just your tap room, but picture you're traveling somewhere, Carrie, and you want to stop at a local brewery, of course. But you show up and they're just opening. It's like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. They just pulled the chairs down, the bar stools out, and you're the only person there.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're traveling through that town maybe a couple times a year, that tap room wants to win you as a regular when you're cutting through. But the question becomes, how can a business create a vibe when it's completely empty? So that's the question we're going to tackle today.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and a bonus for our listeners is that after we cover this topic, Andrew is going to share. We love book recommendations, right? And it's summer reading. It's still not too late to do your beach trip and take a book. So Andrew's going to have that's just a little teaser to stick around until the end to hear Andrew's book recommendation.
And we're going to give you that book recommendation for sure. And also, just want to let everybody know. I mean, we have monthly masterminds as part of Taproom Success. I mean, I think in those we brainstorm so many strategies. So today we're going to talk about how to build a vibe in an empty tap room. But I think continuing the conversation as a mastermind is a great idea, and that's at taproomsuccess.com. You can learn more. But let's dive in first, Carrie. So I think we spoke on a podcast maybe a month or so ago about how people spend more when a tap room is packed versus empty. Yeah, that packed tap room has a great vibe. You don't want to leave, you want to keep drinking. And we see in that situation that the likelihood of a guest purchasing a second drink increases by 32% when the tap room is packed versus empty. So the inspiration for me to dive into the empty tap room concept was I went in a tap room recently and I honestly don't remember where I was or what brewery it was. It just kind of shows you how bleh the experience it was. But I remember the walls were lined with a few random flags. There was no unique art. There was nothing that caught my eye. Just a few random flags, and they weren't. I can't even tell you what kind of flags they were because it just didn't have any context that sat with me. It was empty. The staff were on their phones. I was like the only person in there. There was no music playing. And after I ordered my beer, it literally felt awkward to stay there. It was just like a super weird experience. And I understand that energy helps build that vibe. But the question is, like, how can you offer that vibe and energy when you or me or anyone else shows up first thing when they're opening up, or it just happens to be a slow day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's tough because, the staff is then responsible for creating that vibe, right? When you get a lot of people in there, there's energy and there's excitement and action, but
Staff is definitely important. That's one of the components we're going to dive into shortly.
yeah. And I'm as we've talked about, I'm mostly an introvert, so I actually don't mind a quiet, empty tap room when I go in, but I do want to feel like, oh, this is a place that I want to hang out. So to your point, it's not necessarily always about, lots of conversations and noise and action, but there has to be something that is compelling enough to say, yeah, cool, I want to stick around, have a beer, hang out, and whatnot. So yeah, what are some ways? What are some ways that you've seen?
Before I give you some ways, Carrie, so
Okay.
with Secret Hopper, we have mystery shopping data across a lot of tap rooms all across the country. And I dove through and I found a few quotes about empty tap rooms with no vibe and some empty tap rooms that still found a way to wow the guests. So I want to just read you a couple of these because I think they speak for themselves. And everybody listening, which one do you want to be? I mean, I know which one you want to be and which one you don't want to be. I'm going to read them anyways so you can just hear.
These are quotes from actual
These are real
visitors.
quotes from actual shoppers at
Okay,
breweries.
let's hear them.
First one, I sat at a little table and drank the beers. There was no further interaction with any of the staff. And when I arrived, I was the only customer inside. A separate visit, she seemed very disinterested. It was a similar experience to using a self checkout.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, no one came out to check on us or clear tables. It didn't seem like they wanted to be there that night. Just, you don't want to be any of those. Now, let's look at a few experiences where the guests showed up in an empty tap room, but it was positive. So let's start. Without the music in the background, it would have been much more awkward with the seating arrangements. It made it easier to try and chat between the two of us despite having random people right beside on each of us. Okay, so they've got a little music going that's helping create the vibe. Now, the music was playing slow enough that the vibe of the place made me stay longer despite it being nearly empty. Now, this is a good one. This was a good one here. And this was so when we have our shoppers go out to these visits, they're letting us know how busy the tap room was. So while this one I'm about to read, it doesn't reference an empty tap room, they notated that it was empty when they arrived and empty when they left. And here's what they said. Upon entering, our eyes turned to the modern turntable with a Miles Davis album on the front left corner of the bar. It wasn't just a bar, it was a destination for a beer and music experience. We had a great chat with the bartender and felt very welcome. This is now one of our new favorite next town over finds, totally worth the 40-minute drive. And I
Nice.
love that. Super empty tap room, but they can't wait to come back.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Well, I think it's also we mentioned how important staff is, but it's also a time where you could have higher touch points, right? You could give them a little special experience. Hey, I want to give you a taster of this, or we're experimenting with some new food. I've got a little side I want to, compliments of the kitchen or whatever. Just something to make it kind of fun. And to your point, like how do you create a vibe or how do you create an experience? Maybe those slow times give you that opportunity.
They do, and often we think that, oh, if it's a very empty tap room, the staff can be more engaging with the guest. But unfortunately, we're not seeing that. Maybe the staff is just, I don't know, absent or they're not taking advantage of that captive guest in their tap room because here's some data that we see that's really interesting. We looked at a data set. It's 109 empty tap room visits. And Carrie, across those, I mean, you're going to play the guessing game right now.
Yeah,
Across those 109 visits, how many of those team members introduced themselves?
109
Hey, I'm
visitors.
Andrew. Welcome to the brewery. How many of those staff
I'm gonna
members did that?
go a third.
Okay, a little bit better than a third. 52 out of 109,
All
they
right,
introduced
half.
themselves. Okay, so about half. What about how many of those staff members offered recommendations?
Oh, I'm gonna say less than a quarter.
52 again.
Oh,
So like literally,
I'm striking out
you're
of my guesses.
you're striking out, and you're not giving our staffs enough credit for this. They're doing better than you think, thankfully. But yeah, still slightly less than half. Two of the easiest things you can do when the room is empty, you're not even getting 50% of the time. So I want to break it down in three levels real quick. Some things that you can do to maximize the vibe when the tap room is empty. And you've said it multiple times, the staff can do so much in this situation. So here's five things real quick your staff can do. Like I just hit on, introduce yourself by name right away. Hey, welcome to the brewery. I'm Andrew. Let me know if I can help you with anything. Number two, hey, what brought you in today? Or is this your first visit? Just simply kind of getting the vibe, figuring out a little context about their visit, ask them that initial question. Number three, ask them about their style preferences or what they enjoy to typically drink before offering recommendations. So you're being a little proactive. What do you like to drink? Asking those things. Number four, maybe offer a sample or maybe encourage a flight. Just kind of engage with them a little bit on ways to help them find what they're looking for. And number five, when the tap room is empty, check in regularly. Don't wait for them to flag you down. So those are five quick things you can do when the tap room is empty. By you, I mean the staff members working in the tap room. Now, the next area I want to dive into, this is tough to say. But silence is the enemy, Carrie. Silence is the enemy. You heard that awkward silence just now between you and me. Imagine that in a tap room. You show up, you can hear like a pin drop on the floor. You're almost scared to speak because everybody might hear everything you say to your friend. So I think with tap rooms, when it's empty, have a little background noise there. And looking at some feedback from real guests, they say they want music loud enough to hear, but quiet enough to talk over. So just have something going so it doesn't feel eerily silent. And the third area you can focus on to give your empty tap room a vibe is simply giving something people to look at. Now, Carrie, what's the thing you and I love to look at when we were in a tap room?
Menus. I want to see the beer menu.
Menus. We love menus.
Give me the
So,
menu.
yeah, give someone a menu. I mean, I think that's an easy win there. But if you're going to give them something to look at on a wall, also give them a little bit of context behind it. Don't just throw the flags up on the wall, but ask yourself, does this art, does this decor, does this whatever, does it tell a guest something about who we are before we even say a word? That's the first thing. Second, if a guest asks, like, what's the story behind that poster, that flag? Why are you playing? Then ask yourself, when describing our tap room to a friend, would a guest mention what's on a wall? Like if I go in there and you don't want to mention, oh, the flags were there, but I have no idea why. You want it to be, oh my gosh, Carrie, they had this incredible mural of whatever, and it's because the brand stands for this. So give something people to look at, some people something to look at that has meaning.
Mm. Yep, I love that. The other thing I was going to mention, somewhat of a um, kind of running back to the menus was visuals. I love the visuals, pictures. I think I can't remember if you and I have already talked about this, but certain restaurants I think do this really well. And my weird example here is we were at Einstein's Bagel in DC recently, and I was like, I'll just probably get a bagel. And then I looked up at the menu and they had all these pictures of these incredible sandwiches,
Yeah.
and it was like,
You
wow,
want them all.
I want them all. Give me that hot honey up there. And so I don't see that a lot with beer and particularly tap rooms that offer more than just beer and food. And this goes back to making it. Sure, I think it's a vibe thing for, when I walk in and, you've mentioned the murals or what's on the wall. It's like, well, how about a visual representation of all the really cool stuff that you have on offer? I mean, beer is a beautiful beverage, but we have to see it, right? And sometimes you don't know it's beautiful or not until it shows up in front of you. So I'm kind of a fan of the visuals as well.
Pictures are always nice, especially when they relate back to your brand.
Yeah, makes it easy. It's easy to make decisions too, but rather than, oh gosh, do I want the XYZ Pilsner that has this, that? I just not really sure what that means. But if I look at it, I'm like, gosh, it looks beautiful. I bet it tastes delicious. Let's give it a crack. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the on the visual
I
stuff.
appreciate your 2 cents. So for everybody listening, just a quick recap on the things you can do to give that empty tap room a vibe. Your staff, have them engage with the guest. Play something on your stereo, a little bit of music. If you have TVs, maybe have the volume up just a little bit, something so it's not awkward silence, but also have things on the walls or in your tap room that relate back to your brand, that start conversations.
Absolutely. So, for everybody listening, we would love to have you join us at Taproom Success. As Andrew mentioned, we have monthly mastermind meetings where we bring taproom owners and managers together. And really, it's just an opportunity to say, hey, what challenges do you have right now? What opportunities are in front of you? Where might you need some help? Or honestly, where might you just need to kind of vent a little? It's a place to just sort of it can be lonely, right? Running these places and relatively small staffs. And, what are the things everybody's wrestling with? It's like how to get more people in, how to get them to stay longer, come back more frequently, spend more money, how to better train our staff, do all the things Andrew's mentioning today. It's like, how do you improve the vibe of your tap room, hospitality, all these good things. So it's really just an awesome way to, I think, learn from each other. We're all kind of in this together, so we can share those ideas together as well. And then we have our monthly expert sessions. We've actually got one later today. I'm excited about that. So all different topics. And, I've been kind of like digging in on this more and more of like, how do you actually grow sales? And we say the same kind of general things again and again, get more people and get them to spend more. But there's lots and lots of different tactics. And that can be things that are right under your nose, like merchandise. Are you really focusing on that? Or your loyalty programs, or to-go beer that we talked about, or private events. I know that's a huge. So all of these things um, are very interesting in isolation, but when you sit and listen to someone who's an ex subject matter expert in those areas, it's like, oh, these are actual tactical, tangible ways that I could do this. And I know, Andrew, you always ask, like, what's one next step if somebody were to well, let me ask you that. Like, if what's one next step for someone to improve the vibe of their empty tap room? You've given us a lot of great ideas, but if you could choose one for somebody listening, what
Yeah,
would it
we're gonna focus on your staff today. I mean, I think it goes without saying, have something playing in the background. No one wants that awkward music. Make sure it's on your checklist for your team to turn on the music, whatever you have going on when they get there. But give your staff one tip to engage. Think about what action would you like to happen. Whether you want them to introduce yourself, ask the question, what brings you in today? Ask the question, what do you normally drink and what can I help you find today? Give them a little bit of a prompt that's going to start that conversation. But I think it comes down to just being curious and asking questions. So for all you taproom managers and owners there, brainstorm a list of questions or actions you want your team doing and almost upvote the one you think you'd like them to do right now.
be?
And
I like that.
for me, it's just maybe why are you coming in today? So let's start with that one. That's your challenge. And that way you can kind of craft the rest of the experience based on that person's goals and the reason that brought them in.
So we promised the beer, we promised the beer, we promised the people one of your book recommendations. Andrew, what is your recommendation for today?
Yeah, so Carrie, I mean, we sat next to each other at the National Craft Brewers Conference for Will Guidara's Unreasonable Hospitality talk there, and he gave everyone in the audience, very kind of him, a copy of the Unreasonably Hospitality Field Guide. And I think we've talked about it actually on our last mastermind. Getting one of these like workbook style books, you got to stay on top of it. You got to motivate yourself to actually do it because it's not just reading. Just like when we have these conversations, we have our masterminds, we bring our industry experts. We don't want people just to listen. We want them to actually do. And that's what they want for this one. So this is a mix of things you can do to kind of up your hospitality game and maximize the experience for your staff and your guests. And for fun, I was just going to open to a random page and kind of see one thing that I learned for this today. Okay. So this is what strategies do you rely on when there's tension? So if you're having trouble with maybe interactions with a team member, or you can't figure out the right marketing strategy, like what are things you do to essentially maybe step away and come back and get back on it? And another question they ask on that page is like anything new you'd like to try with regard to, hey, you're having this tension, your current strategies aren't working, maybe here are other solutions. And that's just one example. The real takeaway is it has you brainstorm one, how you're building hospitality for your customer experience at your business. But I think equally as important, how are you creating a culture in your team that empowers everyone to want to be the best advocates they can for your brand? So I would definitely recommend doing this. It gives you, as owners and managers, a lot of ideas, but also as activities you can take back to your team to get everybody involved. And
Love it.
that's the Unreasonable Hospitality Field Guide.
The field guide. So good. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. If you want to continue the conversation, we'd love to have you. Just go to taproomsuccess.com and check it out, and you can join our next monthly mastermind. Thanks, everybody.